Hi, everybody. Erica here from In the Company of Cards with a quick one. Uh, I just wanted to come on first and say thank you so much for all your support. The channel is growing. If you're new here, you're very welcome. If you've been here a while, thank you for staying. I noticed that people are liking, subscribing, sharing, and that people have taken to pushing that little button that gives me a little money in the tip jar, which is really very sweet of you to do. So that there's a lot of ways that you can show support, and I appreciate all of them. Um, I want to refer you to my Substack, which I just finished writing. That's also called In the Company of Cards, or if you go to Substack and you just search my name, I'll pop up there. All of my writing that I do, and I use Lenormand, I use tarot, and I use an African oracle called the Adinkra, can be found there, and it's free of charge, although people do sometimes subscribe with a paid subscription, and that's just to show their appreciation, and I appreciate that. But all of the material there at this point is currently free, so don't feel called upon. Um, I'm going to be recording a couple of videos tomorrow with people who will be familiar to a lot of you. So look for those videos Friday and then again Sunday. So I'm really excited about that. And I just want to look at a couple of things. Um, First of all, we know that the budget is up for conversation and voting. We know that the current CR is will expire um, on the 14th. And so I have read on this question before, but now we're even that much closer to the 14th. So I thought I would look again at whether or not there will be a budget freeze. Now, what I saw before was, in fact, that there would be a freeze, that the 14th will come and go without resolution on the budget. But I also saw, when I looked at it last time, that the budget freeze would not be long. But I'd like to look at it again, just in light of the fact that we know that the Republican Senate and House have some differences of opinion in how the budget should be reconciled. We know that the House just passed their version last night, which called for something like, what, 800 and what does it call for? $880 billion cut in Medicaid. That's a lot. And cuts to SNAP, which is the program that feeds people. It's obscene. And obviously it's meant to um, pay the wealthy who don't pay taxes. So that is the House proposal on the Republican side. We know that the Senate has its own agenda. And then there's the whole Democratic side. So we also know that Democrats and Republicans are getting quite the earful as they travel in their districts from people who are like, wait, what is going on? I didn't vote for that, whatever. But anyway, they're taking a lot of flack, and that could have some effect on how a vote actually goes on the 14th when that CR is up. So I'm just going to look, let's see, for the budget, and I guess I'll use that sort of catch-all card, and we'll use the letter for that, and that will stand for the written budget. And what I'd like to know is what will happen to it as of the 14th, because that will answer the question as to whether or not there will be a freeze. Okay. So remember, we're looking for the letter, and that stands for the budget. A CR, by the way, is continuing resolution. And so there was a continuing resolution back in January, but again, that's up. I think maybe even December. I don't know when the continuing resolution started, but it's only good for 3 months. So if it was December, then here we are going into March. Um, and so now this thing has to be voted on. So we're going to look for the letter, and that will stand for the budget. Oops, upside down. Letters deep in the deck. That doesn't really mean anything except that I have to turn over a ton of cards. Okay, so this letter will stand for the budget. Well, I will say, we've got just over 2 weeks before that CR, the continuing resolution, is vacated. So there is time for people to be talking to each other. We have clouds, we have the bouquet, we have the letter, the stork, and the key. Now, the stork and the key, those are great cards. The stork is about positive change. The key is the answer to things. Um, but it's interesting that the line begins with the clouds. So I think as things currently stand, um, it's doubtful whether a resolution can be arrived at on the 14th when they take that vote. But this, which is, we'll call this, a bouquet is like a gift. So the gift would be if we didn't have to have a shutdown, right? Um, Prospect of this gift happening looks better, better and better. So I think, unless I'm going to pull a couple of clarifiers on the stork and on the key, if those cards are either neutral or positive, then I'm going to say, well, maybe there'll be a budget passed uh, soon without having a freeze. If the cards look negative, then my original prediction will stand. So let's see what we get. I mean, these cards are okay. The clarifiers for the stork are the crossroads, the young man, and the woman. I do think that there will be, whatever's been proposed, there will be all kinds of um, fine tuning that will be done. That's fine tuning. This is about choices. So the numbers may shift around and priorities may be changed a little bit. Um, you've got the hardcore base, and then you've got this as well. And this is yin energy, remember? I think that the hardcore is going to have to soften their stance, or else some Republicans will not keep their jobs. And the clarifiers on the key, we have the child, the ship, and the house. I think the numbers, for example, the number of 880 billion cut from Medicare may go down. Um, so because the White House, above all things, wants to be able to move forward with a budget. It's not a good look for a president who's got the House and the Senate to not be able to pass his budget. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, you've got Americans up in arms. Well, not quite yet up in arms, but up anyway. um, Complaining about how cruel a lot of this is for just the average American who, again, will say, I didn't vote for that. Like, do it to the black people, don't do it to us. Anyway, um, you get what you pay for. Just saying. So I think both sides, well, I think the Republicans will have to become more measured because they are getting a lot of heat. I do think that the Democrats, the Democrats are also getting heat. I mean, I get all kinds of requests for money, and I'm like, and the requests, in these emails that I get sent by the Democrats will tend to spell out what the issues are and what the problems are. I know what the problems are. I'm an alert, aware uh, citizen. What I want to know from the Democrats is what are you going to do about it? And I'm not talking to Crockett or AOC because they're on the case. I'm asking some of these other Democrats, what are you going to do about it? Because I don't see any fierce urgency. I looked at a question the other day where I said, one of the viewers had asked, why haven't any of the former presidents spoken? And people came in my comments to say, well, it's not the done thing. And listen, I've been around a long time. I understand that. Historically, in fact, that's true. It is not the done thing for former presidents to criticize current presidents. And I don't know about the 100-day rule, but it's just generally they just don't do it. However, that is those are the old rules. Like, why are we playing by old rules when we're the only side that seems to be playing by the old rules? The house is on fire, but you want to be polite and not call attention to that, right? Because it's not the done thing. I think those presidents should speak up. And I think that they're not speaking up, not because of politeness and not because of tradition. I think they're not speaking out of self-interest. The political class is the political class. So there you go. All right. Let's see what else. Oh, well, I wanted to look at this. I talked about Joy Reid in my last video, and I mentioned it in Substack, but I'd like to look at the fact that what really happened was a Friday night massacre. I mean, there were tons of people who were let go. Jonathan Capehart, Ayman Mohadeen, uh, Katie Fang, Joy, um, who else? Uh, uh, what's that? I can't remember his first name, but Diaz Balart. He's really good. He's had a weekend show. I mean, it's 5 or 6 people of color that they got rid of. And, I'm going to say on my channel what I said in my Substack, which is that, I thought that Rachel Maddow's impassioned words on behalf of Joy and on behalf of the staff, who are all, of course, losing their jobs, including Rachel's staff, by the way, a lot of them are losing their jobs. I thought it was a good, um, powerful speech, but I also think that in terms of its effect, it was a draw, meaning she said what she said and came out on the side of right. And Rebecca Cutler, the Cutter, the head of MSNBC, was probably sitting there sipping her martini and saying, and it's a draw. So this is what happens is that, you know, bad deeds are done and people use their words to say how terrible it is. But so is the deed still not done? Because who cares what you say? It's what you do that's important. As I said in my Substack, I'm going to look to see is Rachel going to say, I'll do my 100 days because that was in my contract, but then I'm out because I don't like how you're treating people of color. She's not going to do that. Is are Simone Sanders and Michael Steele, who are sort of brought up in the crucible of politics and understand the dog eat dog nature of it. And our politicians probably before they're a race man or a race woman, will they say, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm not taking that job because look what you did. Look what I had to do. Look who you got rid of to give us that slot. We're not doing that." No, that's not going to happen. They will step over the bodies right into their anchor chairs. So this is how the circle remains unbroken because we think it's enough to shake our finger. It's not enough. You know, what are you bigwigs sacrificing? We know that what's her name? Jen Sankey is Jen Psaki. She's moving on up to the east side. So she's good. She's not going to lodge any complaint. And this is always the way it is. Just so you know, where people of color are asked to step up and step in and speak out. But when the shoe's on the other foot, and again, you've got Simone who's black, you've got Steele who's black, but their blood runs um, political more than anything. So they're not going to take a bullet. And I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame. All right, anyway, speaking of bullets, taking a bullet, pardon the metaphor. That was just a metaphor, YouTube. But speaking of, did you see the bruise on 47's hand? It's huge and it's on the back of his hand here. So he was asked about it, or his people were asked about it, and they said it was because, he meets so many people and he shakes so many hands. Now, I've shaken hands with people. You've shaken hands with people. Have you ever had to shake hands with so many people who have shaken your hand so hard that it leaves the entire back of your hand bruised? I'm going to answer for you. No, you have not. And is it because that's the president and he's shaken way more hands than you have? No, it's not. I'm going to tell you, I have a theory about what that bruise is all about on the back of his hand. But I'll hold off on that. Let's see what the cards say. So we're gonna act like, we just don't know. Why? What is the bruise on 47's hand all about? What is that? So I gotta think, I don't know what card I want to use. So I have to you know what? Uh I'll use the scythe because the scythe is the card for an injury. It's definitely well, I mean it's a bruise, right? And let's see what caused that bruise on the back of his hand. No, I don't want to use the scythe. And I have a reason for why I don't want to use it, which I'll tell you when I get to where I'm going. So, hmm, hmm, there's no card for bruise, let me just say. But there's no card for a lot of things, except there actually is a card for everything. Okay, here. So I'm going to assume that it's painful. This is a card of pain. So we're going to use this card to represent the bruise on the back of 47's hand. It's huge. If you've not seen it, Google it. What happened? Because I'm really concerned. What caused that bruise on the back of his hand? So let's see what we get. Okay. And I remember I said I was going to use the cross. Oh, whoa, it's the first card. Okay, so that's going to go here, and I shuffled, but anyway, that's where it ended up. And that means that it has to be the first card, which means the other cards are the other four. Okay, so we have the cross, we have the house, we have clover, we have the whip, and we have the heart. You know, you're going to say, well, where are you getting that from? But I'm going to pull a couple of clarifiers before I actually answer. what I think this is all about. So again, we have the cross. This stands for the bruise on the back of his hand, the house, clover, whip, and heart. I suspect that this, we'll call it an injury, but I don't think it was an injury. This bruise happened in the White House, and clover is a card for something that is sudden. Um, it's also for something that is acute as opposed to chronic, but it also can be like for allergies, for example, clover. Whip. I think he's had injections in his hand. For what? I don't know. But I think he's had them more than once. Um, and it's interesting that the heart is the end of the line because I can mirror that with the cross. I don't know if it's some sort of, I don't know. I think it's some sort of IV type infusion. Uh, Clarifiers for clover are the bouquet, the child, and man. So this is to make him feel better, whatever that means, feel more spry. I think it's, may have happened, they may have done it more than once before, but it's a pretty new phenomenon, a thing that they're doing for him. It's some sort of form of treatment that's fairly new for him to make things better. Um, I think it's something that he has had more than once, like it's a course of treatment. And they maybe had to stick him a few times, or maybe the IV infiltrated or something. I mean, you know how that can go. The clarifiers are the scales, the bear, and the tower. Hmm. So, the whip is a card. If you think about what a whip does, it's repetitive, right? So this he may have had to have more than one of these injections to balance something out, some part of his system. Um, I don't think this is referring to his narcissism particularly. I think it's referring to, um, this is a card for food, but also I'm feeling like vitamin deficiency, things like that. And um, I think he had it at the White House, but the rest of us would have probably had this infusion in a hospital. Now we have the heart, and then we have crossroads, young woman, and shit. So there's been a lot of speculation about his heart. We know that we are approaching the Ides of March, and I told you from around the second week of March, he really needs to watch his health because he is in some peril from any number of directions. One of them is cardiac. This can be a card for like arteries, arteries. Uh, and I think that you can't hold back the hands of time. He's powerless, yin, against whatever is raging in his system, whether it's heart disease or diabetes, whatever it is. Um, and I can mirror the ship with the cross. So the infusion, that's what I'm going to call it, is meant to help him move forward to continue his work to, you know, live and move and have being and do what he needs to do. But I think it was necessary. I think to call just to attribute it to a handshake or too many handshakes is ridiculous. Now, apparently, Macron really gave him a stiff handshake. I suspect that Macron saw the bruise and said, yeah, let me shake his hand really hard. I don't know. Maybe Macron is a nicer guy than I would be in that situation. But anyway, so that's all I have for you today. Um, the news is ever with us, and I'm looking forward to having guests with me to talk about some of these things. Um, I'll give you a hint. Uh, we have an astrologer, and I have another card reader coming on. And yeah, and hopefully we can make some sense of some of what's going on. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to show up since I wasn't here yesterday and didn't want you to think I was AWOL. A viewer mentioned that I looked overwhelmed the other day. No, I would never come to you if I were overwhelmed. I would experience my overwhelm off camera, we'll say. Um, uh, I think what they were seeing was that I was trying to get a bunch of questions answered in the space of time that I'd allotted, and the video went over an hour because I answered, I think it was maybe 10 questions. So that was not my overwhelm. Maybe look in the mirror because I can understand why a lot of people would feel overwhelmed in these times, but I would never come to you in that state. So I wish you well on this Wednesday, and I will see you soon. I don't know tomorrow. We'll see how my filming schedule goes. But if not tomorrow, then the next day. All right, you take care.